It's AliExpress back to school sale time, so they've got all kinds of stuff. Now, first off, I needed a little action camera to take around town and just use for different things. And there's one on there for like the 30 to 40 bucks with a bunch of accessories. So we're going to take a look at that. Then we're going to take a look at some adapters. And last but not least, I'm going to talk about preservation of your old games because, you know, these things, if you just set them on the shelf or whatever, they can deteriorate. And we're going to talk about some cases that I use. I've been buying these on AliExpress for a long time, and I said, hey, send me a bunch more. I need some more. So we'll talk about those all in this video. Back to school sale, 19th through the 25th of this month, August. You can get up to 80% off. The link is down there. Make sure you click on that. I've got some extra discount coupon codes I'll tell you about in just a second. First off, all new members get free shipping, and there's also free returns, so nothing to worry about if you get something and it doesn't work out. They accept pretty much all the major debit cards, PayPal, Google Pay, Apple Pay. If you want a pay later program like Klarna or Afterpay, you got that too. You got like really good choices and some really good prices over here. So I got 3 coupon codes for you. If you spend over $30, go ahead and use TEKS9 to save $9. If you spend over $60, use TEKS15 and that will save you $15. And then if you spend over $100, use TEKS25 to save $25. As far as the coupon code goes, once you get into your shopping cart, you may be like, where's the promo code? Well, there's actually a little drop down right on the right hand side where it says summary and subtotal. There's a little promo code. Just click on that, it'll drop down. Put your promo code in there and click apply. All right, so let's take a look at this action cam. A couple days I'm going to be taking a look at this very inexpensive SJ cam. And you know what? I'm going to put it up against this. This is a GoPro. I've got it on a head mount right now, but this is a $250 GoPro. It's not even close when it comes to the price. So I'm going to try to talk about which camera is good for whom, and we'll talk about how they compare. But right now I just want to tell you about this one because it's the value option. And the main reason I wanted to take a look at it is because it comes with waterproof housing, a bunch of accessories. I've got all kinds of stuff and it's compatible with GoPro standard mounts. You can use it with pretty much any of those accessories. But really the main reason I wanted to take a look at this, 2 things. It's 4K. Number 2, it's ridiculously inexpensive for an action camera, so I wanted to see just what you could do with it. Now, while taking it around town, I noticed that in good lighting, you got 3 different modes when it comes to your camera. You got a wide and a mid and then a zoom in shot. So most of this is shot on wide, which is a little bit of a fisheye. Kind of reminds me of like an old school action camera when a lot of them were fisheye. Some people really like that look. Now this is really made to mount somewhere that's somewhat stable. It does have software image stabilization built in. It's not like crazy image stabilization. Like for instance, this is me just running around hand holding with a little stick. You can see it's pretty shaky if you're running around and moving and stuff. The software, it does a little bit to correct it, but it's not like intense or crazy software. So what you'll need to do is go into post and apply some stabilization like I've done right here. And now you can see that same footage with stabilization done in Adobe Premiere. Now, if you want to use this as a dash cam, it's got a mode for that. You can just put it on your dashboard and that's a lot more stable. If you're putting it on your bike or your helmet, I didn't have time to go out and, I don't even have a bike, but run around in the woods or whatever with it strapped to my head. But that's something that it's not really ideal for. It doesn't have a front screen. That's one of the things that makes it a little less expensive. It just got a screen on the back. So it's made for someone who just, set up your shot, get it going. It's not really you can use it for selfies. If you point it at yourself, it works just fine, but you're not going to have a front screen. You're not going to get that in something that's in this price category. It also supports time-lapse. This is me running around with time-lapse, which is kind of wild. I think maybe something a little more stable or just sitting straight or putting it on your bike and going through the woods would be pretty cool. I think this would be really cool to do a hike with time-lapse, and that works just fine. Now this one came with 2 batteries, and one battery already lasts me a few hours just running around town, and I still had half the battery left, so that's good to go. Now apart from 4K, it'll do 4K 30, but it'll also do lower resolutions, and with those you can also do slow motion. But for outdoors, good lighting, I think it can produce a decent image. Indoors, low lighting, maybe it's not really made for that. So if you wanted like an indoor camera to use, this is probably not what I'd recommend. If you want like an outdoor action camera, something you can take underwater, then this will work for that. Inside the camera, you have 2 different modes. It'll work with H.264, and it actually let me change it over to H.265. It doesn't say that on the website, but it must be a newer firmware or something. And that does give you a little more quality and also a smaller file size. As far as the photo resolution, it'll do up to 16 megapixels. You got 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi if you want to connect to it that way. The battery is 900 milliamp hours, and it takes a micro SD card. The size on this is 29.8 by 59.2 by 41 millimeters. You can get an external microphone, but that's sold separately. All right, so now that I got myself a little camera to goof around with, let's go back and start protecting our game boxes, shall we? And this is really like the thing I was most excited about was protecting all the game boxes. And I don't know how you feel about that, but all of my important games are getting one of these. So let's talk about how this works. Now I got this for several different types of media, several different consoles, several different shapes and sizes, but they're all very similar in the way they work. So one thing you'll notice here is that you kind of need to break them in a little bit. I like to wiggle them back and forth and sort of like push down a little bit in both angles just to get the folds in place. And I especially like to do that on the ends with the little tabs here that latch it together. Now I always push that all the way down first, or else it might bow on the end. You can see how that's like flat right there on the end. Well, that's what I want. I don't want it to bow at all. So in order to get that, I always fold it in before I put my game inside the acrylics. And once it's in there, this is actually sturdy. Now I still would not recommend stacking these things like this. Over time, the weight, especially if you have a bunch of them stacked, the weight is going to affect the ones on the bottom, especially if they're cardboard and not in plastic DVD cases like this one. You never want to stack them. You always want to stand them upright like this. I usually like to go for the wear resistant because it's only a few cents more and it's slightly thicker. So I usually grab these and then just add a few to my cart. 64 cents each is great. So awesome that they're on sale. These are for the Genesis or the Mega Drive, which are the same size in all countries. I'm not sure why the Super Nintendo and the Super Famicom are different sizes, but the Mega Drive is the same size. You'll also notice that there's a film on the outside. And that's just to keep them from getting scratched or scraped while they're shipping or packing. When it comes to removing the film, I like to remove it before I fold anything around, because once you get it all folded into place, sometimes the film is difficult to take off. So just be careful not to get too many fingerprints on the inside. I always try to handle it from the outside because you can clean that. Cleaning the inside, and it's not as easy when you got a game in there. Nintendo 64 and Super Nintendo games happen to be the same size, which is great. So if you have a whole bunch of games, just get, a whole bunch of these. These come in a set of 5. That's not fair. I have to buy some more. Well, I actually bought some of these with my own money. I know AliExpress sent me some, but I bought some of these with my own money because, I wanted more. I wanted some more of these, but they were not this price. So now I've got to go on there and buy some more because that's ridiculous. 99 cents for 5 of those. That'll work with my N64 and my Super Nintendo games. So that's really awesome. Yeah, just fold those up and get those in there. Now, I also got some for like the Sony PlayStation size, which are like the double thick discs. Sometimes they'll have like the middle thing with a couple more CDs. So you'll have like a 5 CD in total, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 CD in total. I don't know what they are. But those actually are great for, just storing regular CDs. If you have like 2 CDs that kind of go together, you can get them in there. So this one, I've got Quake on this side. It's kind of funny because this is the version of Quake that I've always had. I never actually had the full big box. I got this, and this, you open it up and it's got the shareware key, and you use that to unlock the full game. So I got this version of Quake. Put that in there. But it's only the size of one CD. This is the new Rise of the Triad game on the back right there. So I kind of put them together, even though they're kind of related. We'll call Tom Hall linking together the two spirits of the games. And yes, even though this is the new version, and this one's signed by Andrew Holst, who did the music. So how's it going? I don't know if you're watching this, but yeah, cheers. But anyway, those kind of fit, in there together. And that's a good way to keep both of them, safe. And every now and then I just turn it around and I'm like, oh, let's look at this one for a while. Oh, let's look at this one for a while. Last but not least, they also are good for just other items. For instance, right here, this perfectly fit into one of the double CD cases or one of the PlayStation cases. This is John Romero's wallet. So, and I don't know, the business card on the inside is coming out. He put his business card in there, signed the inside, and drew a little pentagram. But this is the wallet he carried around while he was making a lot of the old iconic games that we all know and love. So cheers, John Romero. Thanks for that. And it's going to be protected right there. So yeah, you could just grab as many of these as you like. It's pretty easy. Sometimes when you first get started, you're like, these are really flat. You got to really kind of bend them into place at first. But once you learn how the acrylic works and how it moves and how it bends, you'll get used to it and you'll be able to start putting your game cases together and protecting all your old video games. Now, one thing I'll say is if you have something that's really expensive or really fancy, like I've got this fancy old copy of the the first edition of Doom from, I think, 1991. Now this one I'm not going to put in just a simple acrylic. I'm going to get a thick acrylic custom made. It'll cost like $50 or $60 just for this one case. I know it's ridiculous, but that game is worth a lot more than 50, 60 bucks. So, and it's in really good condition, so I don't want it to go bad. It'll be fine in a case like this, I think, but for something like that, I want a really thick case. And I might get a case that has like acrylic with UV protection and everything else, but I like to keep these out of the sun anyway. So yeah. All right, the last thing I grabbed, just a little something. U-Green, I've had good experiences with U-Green, and I needed another active adapter. So check this out. This is a ridiculous price for an active adapter. Now the benefit of this is it'll let you use a modern graphics card that only has digital outputs, and you'll still be able to get the analog signal because it has an active adapter on the inside, and it'll work with up to 1080p. So I mean, I haven't tried it with 1920 by 1440. Sometimes they work at that resolution, but you know, 1600 by 1200 works just fine. And now I can use like a modern graphics card with an old CRT or an old VGA monitor. It's always going to be a CRT. I'm not going to use any other type of old VGA monitor. U-Green, you may know them since they're now making NAS products, but they also make plenty of adapters, and they're decently high quality from my experience. I haven't had any issues with them. This one also has a 3.5mm jack, but you do need a power if you're going to be doing like high resolution stuff. So you got to plug in like a micro USB right there, and you just plug that up to the wall. So there you have it. Remember, 80% off during the back to school sale, August 19th through the 25th. Remember those coupon codes. We'll go over them one more time. TEK9, TEK15, and TEK25 to save $9, $15, and $25. All that information is in the description, you know, for the different price tiers there. So head on down there. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you next time.